enforcement. And this is one of those things, you know, law enforcement, they have to keep these people safe, and then you can see it right there, the suspect trying to get into somebody's property or still trying to hide, but doing a very, very poor job of it right there. LAPD coming to a stop. Oh, come on, guys, he's right there. The officer's running right by him. They're going right by him. Angie, our pilot today, talking on O2, trying to tell the officers that this suspect is right there. And again, you just saw that. Oh my goodness, I just feel so bad for those officers making their way back now. It's the blue car. There we go. Somebody's getting the information. Somebody's got to be getting the information. Keep coming around, Ange. Keep coming around. Keep coming around. That suspect, unbelievable. We're watching this live, and you have to understand that these officers, they don't know what the information that we know. But again, that LAPD helicopter just arriving. There you go. Some of those officers must be getting that information. There you go. There you go. And now that suspect going into custody. Wow. Wow. And they haven't seen him yet. This is unbelievable. There we go. Oh, my gosh. Sorry about that. It got a little tense there at the end.
It was
a galaxy near you. This is Brothers in Booze. And here are your hosts, Greg Washington and Doug Ziegler.
And Lauren Yee.
Hey.
Hey, how y'all doing?
I'm doing all right.
Better than those cops, right?
Yeah, that guy was a professional hide and seek dude. Like, that was awesome.
Yeah, but
I am.
he didn't really do much, though, Doug.
No,
That is sometimes key with hide and seek. You got to not move, not make sounds. It's very key to hide and seek.
For sure.
Is this why they send 15,000 officers to your house if something happens?
Not if you're white, they don't.
Oh, and on that note, Doug, I'm having one of my favorites, Fantasy Factory here.
Oh,
This is a cold IPA. They got a whole bunch. I don't know. I bought an IPA pack with like 4 different kinds, so I'm drinking a cold IPA. So I'm having an IPA. What are y'all having?
Lauren, you want to go?
Sure. I'm about to crack open something I haven't had before. Okay. It is. Can I angle this? Nope. This way. It is a Rye Red Ale, which I've never had before, and it's I'm Rye Burgundy. And I'm very excited because of the notes, like flavor notes on the can feel like things that I would like. There's like caramelly things and malty stuff, but I've never had this type of a beverage before, so we're gonna pour it and taste it. Let's see if I can do it. I'm just gonna commit to the whole thing.
Yeah,
Ooh, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Who's that guy and what he's done? What has he done with Doug's beard?
What guy? Yeah, I shaved it down because as I said in pre-production, I was doing a little bit too much of the evil genius beard stroking all the time. Like I was trying to come up with world domination plan. So I just trimmed it off.
Who's to say you still can't do that?
Not anymore. Well, if I did it now, I would literally look like a serial killer if I had no facial hair at all. So it'd be not good. So what do you think of that, Lauren?
We're going.
Yeah, what's going on?
I committed. It's fine. Ooh, also pretty color.
Ooh,
I don't know if you can tell with
color. Yeah,
this better.
Nice red color.
Ooh, I do like it. I don't know if I can describe it. Y'all might need to help me. I feel like, yes, malty, not hoppy things. It is, I'm used to like stouts and darker beers. Generally, that's where I lean. So part of me feels like I want fuller, but it's clearly lighter, but it is flavorful, not bitter. What are other ways I can describe this? I like it. It's like smooth. There's a smoothness to it. Creamy? Is that a word?
How's the mouthfeel? Is it heavy like the stouts that you have, or is it light?
First sip, I'm gonna say lighter, like middle. I would go middle ground. Like it's not as coaty as darker beers, but it's also I wouldn't specifically say it's like effervescent, but it's like there.
Okay. Cody, I love it.
Cody,
I'm really good with words.
Aren't we all? Great. All right, so mine, I'm going to start with Black Magic Irish Coffee Stout with Whiskey Barrel Blended. So this is from Empire, which is in Syracuse, New York. Yep. See, nobody noticed you, Greg. I feel bad for you.
What
I'm
about
sorry.
me?
And this was not planned. This was not planned at all.
Did you
Doug and
shave?
I-
Did you shave your beard too?
Just for you all. Can you tell?
You were saying, Greg?
Doug and I have done this more than once, actually, where we shaved at the same time without knowing each other shaved. So yeah,
You're just.
This-
Is that the
that's-
male version of being on the same cycle?
Might be.
Beard synergy.
holy head, Doug.
Mm-hmm. It stopped, and then I tilted it, and then it went, "Oh yeah," and I'm not done, and then just spilled everywhere.
That is some robust head.
Mm-hmm. Got that super nice dark thing that you expect from your stouts. With the coffee stout, you get the coffee on the nose and on the palate, so not overly roasty from the coffee, but a solid coffee stout, I would say. Not like the best one I've ever had, but good.
It looks like something I'd want to drink.
We should accidentally wear the same t-shirt.
Do you own any of the same shirt?
So we're already sharing who will be on next week. Next time next week. Tiffany Martin, who is really good friends with our guest tonight. So there's a connection on that. And our guest is my friend Dan Beaubien. Did I say that right?
We'll
Hopefully
find out.
so.
Yeah, we will find out. We will find out. He's a Twin Cities native. I don't know if he's a Twin Cities native. See, Lauren, this is I'm bad at this. This is why sometimes I make Doug do it.
He currently resides in the Twin Cities.
Area.
Area.
Say area.
I should let that go. I should let you do these from now on, Lauren.
I was like, I know nothing.
He's a blogger, a beer traveler, a beer friend. Very knowledgeable, coming from a brewery. We've only had a few brewery interviews here, Doug, but not many. So that'll be fun. And Dan's been on before. I don't know if y'all remember. It was about a year and a half ago. It was definitely during the pandemic. And we are excited to have him. So without further ado, let's do this. What's up, Dan?
How's it going? Hey, everybody.
You are a native of the
Cheers.
Twin Cities, though, aren't you?
Yeah. So we're going to get a little technical. I was born in Medellin, Colombia, but adopted, and I grew up in West St. Paul. So ever since I was adopted, I've been in Minnesota. Yes. Twin City and at heart, St. Paul. People will tell you that St. Paul is the boring half of the Twin Cities, and I would say that is wrong, because if you've ever been to my house on a Friday night for Yahtzee, nothing boring about that. So
that might be the most Midwestern thing that's been said on our show.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
Dan, where are you at and what are you drinking before we get into this?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because I'm up here at Lupulin Brewing Company in Big Lake, Minnesota. We are in the throes of, and I've got my little shirt here for their Big Beer Week. Every year they do a week where they take all the sessionable, reasonable beers off the tap lines and replace them with beers that are 10% and higher. And so the big challenge today was I arrived here shortly after 4 p.m. and I have been keeping it in second gear because I did not want to sound like a blithering idiot when I got on here. So, and I am drinking the Dortmunder Lager.
Yes.
This won the GABF gold medal in 2017. And I happened to have been out at GABF with Lupulin when they won. And there's a really neat story there that I can tell later, but this comes out once a year and they just put it into cans. It's not even in liquor stores yet. And they have these wonderful lager mugs to go along with it. So I'm going to crack this bad boy right now because it's that time. It's beer time, folks.
Yes,
On
it is.
Brothers and Booths. So here we go.
Yeah, the look on jealousy on Greg's face is pretty fun.
Well, Greg, if you remember, I poured this for you when you came by the Lupulin stand
At the GABF, absolutely.
And this is
Absolutely.
a spectacular beer. It's so good. Most people know Lupulin Brewing Company for hoppy beers, obviously Lupulin being their logo and everything, but they do some fantastic lagers. And in 2019, I believe, it was either 2019 or 2020, they won a bronze medal for their Doppelbock. So it's just, to me, it's ironic that a brewery that's known for their hoppy beers has won 2 GABF medals for traditional German-style beers. So cheers to you all, and cheers to beer friends on a Friday night.
Absolutely.
Cheers, folks.
Cheers. Also, can I ask a quick question, a beer question, because I'm not always good at it. So that style, I like those words mean, I mean lager, but like that style doesn't mean a lot to me. Like, what does that mean?
It shouldn't either.
So
respectfully, well, let me explain that before Dan answers that question. It shouldn't, because it's not one that's brewed often, Lauren, and you are new to the beer scene compared to all of us. So, like, you wouldn't. It's not one that you would, like, I would say, run to. You would almost have to be introduced to it, because it's rarely ever anywhere. And this is why we're getting all these the Dortmunders.
That's also why I was asking. I was like, people seem to know, and like I don't know what's happening.
Right, because you never see them. So when you do see a Dortmunder, grab it. But I'm gonna let Dan go. But that's why I didn't want to talk down to you or sound like I was like beer-splaining to you. And maybe it came off that way. But Dortmunder's rarely brewed, and to find a really, really, really good one, it's even higher, I believe.
Okay.
The bar. Dan, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to add that I know that it originated in the Dortmund region of Germany. And so, like in Germany, you know, you have like your certain areas state claimed certain styles. So like you have your alt beers are from one region, like your Kolsch's are from another region, and so Dortmund is like, if you go there, this is the style of beer that you will drink, and it is a very, it's a nice, satisfying malty lager with a little bit more hops at the end. And I like it. I think that I can only think of a handful of regional breweries that really do a Dortmunder. One of them is Great Lakes Brewing Company in Cleveland, Ohio. They have their Dortmunder Gold because they won a gold medal at GABF for it. But yeah, it's not a common style. It's a style that I get very excited about, and the folks at Lupulin brew a very tasty one.
Apparently.
And let me add here, I don't know who knows what that means down there, but I'm about to explain it.
Okay.
Holland. So long story short, Doug, I don't know if you know this, but when I was picking, I'm a big soccer fan. I love it. I probably love it more than I love American football. Y'all know how much I love American football, but I probably love soccer more than I love American football. Long story short, when I was picking a team to like in the German league, Lauren, because I started watching the German league, and I just was grabbed by like the style of play. And every time when I first started watching it, these people were playing in snow and rain, and it just made it really more exciting. So I didn't know how I wanted to pick a team, but I didn't know what I wanted, like what team I wanted. So I ended up, long story short, with Dortmunder because I like Dortmunders. So then I ended up following Dortmunder. Now Holland is a one of the best up and coming soccer players, and he plays for Dortmund. Okay. And Jeff and I are soccer heads. We talk about Holland all the time. So then that's why Jeff put Holland on there, because he's Dortmund's best player.
Totally.
And it's completely great, and it all sinks in.
I love the idea that you chose a team based on a beverage. It's solid choice to start out.
Runner-up, I believe, Jeff, I don't remember this, but one of the runner-ups was Cologne for Kolsch's, because that's where Kolsch's come from, and I love Kolsch, and it's a great beer. But also, real quick, though, before we get back to Dan, you know, that's a really fascinating thing about German beers, is that, like, every city has, like,
it's style.
Every city has a style, and it's like, especially like in Cologne, or I've never been, but I've heard that if you go to Cologne, all you can find is Kolsch's. Like you couldn't find a Dortmunder there. What? So then you go to Dortmund and you can only find Dortmunders there and not Kolsch's. And I'm like, for us, that would be so weird, Lauren, if you think about it. That, like, if we went to a different city in our country and you could only get a coffee stout in, I don't know, who does coffee around here? Or, you know what I mean? If you could only go to Portland, Oregon and get, like, IPAs, and you'd be like, what am I... So it's just really fascinating that's how it works in Germany.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Thank you, everybody.
So, yeah, Dan.
The more
look
you
at
know.
you, man. Look at that. You bring the German, and we talked about we're educating Lauren here. Right? We're educating everyone.
Talking soccer, talking soccer and stuff.
Talking soccer, right?
Hey,
Holland,
we
that's
do it
not
all
German.
That was me.
No, I believe he's Swedish. For the record, I think he's Swedish. Or no.
Who's our fact checker, Jeff?
No. What do you call someone from Norway?
Norwegian.
So,
Maybe.
Okay, thank you. Hey, look, I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. I barely know who Ryan Reynolds is, too. So kill me in the comments because I got killed in pre-production for that. So anyway, I'm at least willing to admit when I don't know something. So if all y'all know it and I don't, then good for y'all. But I'm just dumb, so it's fine.
Yeah, you just dropped knowledge about some guy none of us knew anything about. So I think it's all fair.
All balance.
It is right. I know more about soccer, and I don't know what a Norwegian is. But anyway, Dan, we're going to take the heat off of me and ask you some questions.
All right, bring it. Pepper me about tax law. It's my 1 week spot in Trivial Pursuit.
It's really clear that I've been talking way too much. So here's a question, and I can shut up. So, so a little background on you, and then we can get to all your stuff. But you and I met at the Beer Bloggers Convention, and I remember that story about you telling me that you were born in Colombia. I remember it now that when you said it, but I didn't remember it before. So that's why I was like, he's not native. I didn't even believe that. But that's where you are. And I know you love the beer up there. So I want to ask a kind of a two-part question is,
sure.
You ended up being a blogger. So tell us a little bit about how, or a reporter of beer and a beer traveler. So tell us how you came, being a young pup from, Colombia, how you get to be this big beer guy that you are, and then give us a little bit into how you came about Beer Ploma and all that.
Well, I've always been a social individual, and it was getting to the point, and so Minnesota is a little bit was I'm going to say was a little bit behind the times when it came to craft beer. So there were not a ton of craft breweries in Minnesota. As a matter of fact, previous to like early 2000s or 2005, 2006, there were like 6 breweries and then another handful of brew pubs. So craft beer wasn't something that was like readily available even when I was in college. The only kind of noteworthy one was like Summit and Shells. And so, my travels originally started off with my quest to see the Minnesota Twins play in every single baseball stadium. And I knocked off Wrigley Field, Milwaukee, Fenway. Where else did I go? I got 6 or 7 of them done. And then when I went to visit my sister in Cleveland, I had a harrowing flight in a puddle jumper plane from Milwaukee. So I flew from Minneapolis to Milwaukee and then from Milwaukee to Cleveland, which was basically, this thing was like a tree house with wings. There were like 12 passengers and I was white knuckling it the whole time. There was a little turbulence, let's just say that. I landed and my sister and her fiance picked me up at the airport. They're like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I need a beer. And so they took me to Great Lakes Brewing Company in Cleveland, Ohio. And I had never been to a craft brewery before. and I got the flight. There were, I believe, 8 beers on there, and I liked every single one of them for different reasons, and that got me hooked. And so that was 2006. And then from 2006 on, I kind of like would go to the liquor store and try to buy a 6-pack from a different brewery that I'd never heard of before, and kind of started to kind of understand which styles I liked. And I think like many craft beer geeks started out with stouts, kind of more of the malty things. I remember the first time I had a Bell's Two Hearted, I thought I was going to need a tongue replacement because it was so hoppy to me. And where I was with my pal, like, oh God, we could restain the garage with this stuff. Fast forward to today, I love all hops, all kinds of hops, but I think that my beer journey began at Great Lakes Brewing Company. It hasn't stopped since then. In 2014, so I want to backtrack a little bit. In 2010, I went to my first beer festival, and that was a real eye-opener because, in Minnesota, I know beer festivals are different depending on where you are in the country, but in Minnesota, you buy a ticket, you get a little sampling glass, something like this, and you go around and you sample and you try, and that was like an eye-opener. And at the time, in Minnesota, Surly Brewing Company was about the hottest thing you could find. They were known for aggressively hopped beers, doing big malty beers, and that was just something that this area had not really seen before. And so as I kind of continued going to beer festivals, I got more into beer. And then in 2014, a friend who I wound up, actually, this was really crazy. We wound up going to church together when we were little, and we connected at a beer festival, and he ran a beer blog called Beer Ploma, and I had followed them on kind of Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. And then later that summer, he asked me, hey, would you ever consider writing about beer? And I was like, well, that sounds like out of my league, but I mean, I drink a lot of beer and I like beer and I like beer stories. So sure, why not? And I've been writing for Beer Ploma ever since. So that was August of 2014. And, writing about beer has provided me with all sorts of interesting learning experiences, but it's also put me in touch with a lot of really great people, such as yourselves. And so I think first and foremost, to me, beer has been a vehicle for more social interaction. And I think beer brings people together. And then as I've gotten into it, nerding out about a Dortmunder on a Friday when all the young whippersnappers are out there at the clubs. I'm in a conference room in Big Lake talking about beer with some friends. So, here we are now. And it's just kind of been a kind of a great adventure, and I've really enjoyed it.
What a journey, first of all. And also I had a moment where you said 2014. I was like, well, that was long ago. Nope, that was a long time ago. Shoot. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. But you had I wanted to ask because I didn't know you before this week. And you had talked about how way back when in 2000, whatever, craft beer and different kinds of beer were not really a thing. And I stumbled onto your website. There's a whole March Beer Madness thing happening. And there seems to be many a craft brewery that I was like, I don't recognize most of these. What's that and what's up? And it sounds like there's multiple brackets. Tell me more.
Yeah. So a lot of it, so you're on the West Coast, Doug's on the East Coast. Greg will understand when I say the Midwest definitely has an inferiority complex because we are regarded by many people as just flyover country. And so Beer Ploma, the blog that I write for, has been doing a local kind of a take on the March Madness thing, and trying to celebrate and promote the growing beer industry that we have happening in Minnesota. And so to give you just a brief history lesson, tap rooms weren't a thing in Minnesota until 2011. They passed a bill, you could not sell beer out of your tap room, out of your facilities. And
Okay.
so one of the if you go back to Prohibition, Volstead was a Minnesota politician. We can blame him for that 13-year era where the United States lost their mind and decided not to sell alcohol. So Minnesota is very like conservative and just like, Norwegian and Germanic ideals, and just people don't emote and everybody's passive aggressive. And so in 2011, they passed a law that allowed breweries to sell beer out of their tap room. At that point, there were a handful of breweries, and now in 2022, we have over 200 craft breweries. And so I tell everybody that the Twin Cities and greater Minnesota is the best kept beer secret in the country. We're growing at a exponential pace. And so Brew Madness is we have a north, a south, a east, a west region, and people vote for their favorite breweries to populate those. We do 16 breweries in each region, and we do kind of a NCAA style tournament that's all fan voting. And so we've had some really interesting breweries win over the years. One of the ones that, Greg, I think you're familiar with, Town Hall Brewery in Minneapolis. They've won it twice. Urban Growler, Laconia Brewing, Barrel Theory, Bobbing Bobber, Roost Tech. Those are all the different ones. And it's just kind of a fun celebration of all the cool things. And what I love about it is that it does shed a bright light on some breweries that are in these little teeny tiny towns that if you weren't in search of beer, you'd probably never go there. And you go there for the brewery, but then you wind up discovering great people, great coffee, great food, and just great community. So the Beer Plum of March Madness, right now we're on our preliminary rounds. We're populating the brackets, and then the voting goes live, I believe, on Sunday. So
okay,
it's just fun,
And you're coinciding it with the brackets being released in March Madness. So
that's the idea.
Well played, sir.
Yes. But we found out a couple of years. We used to call it Beer Plum of March Madness, and then we can't do that. That's like a trademark phrase. I'm like, okay, we don't want Ron Reynolds and his law firm coming after us and suing us. So we changed it to Brew Madness, and now it's all good. So
perfect. Well thought out. And I'm so curious just because I might follow along because I was like, I don't know any of these things, but then it'll give me information for when I can fly places again.
Yep. I've got a guest bedroom. Come visit. I'll take you to all the great places.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Dan knows all the good places too. So
I believe
Yeah.
He seems knowledgeable.
I try. Well, there's so much good stuff. I mean, you all know, in your local communities, there's regional breweries that a lot of people know about, and then there's the hidden gems, the places that the locals love, and I really like to celebrate and try to promote those places because I believe they deserve just as much notoriety as, the Dogfish Heads and New Belgiums of the world.
Well, to your point about like exploring the local things, you mentioned you were at Lupulin tonight, and you said there's a special thing going on tonight. So can you explain what loveliness is going on? A little detail down there.
Oh my goodness! So they have been. This is their the sixth year that they've done this, and it is a celebration of high ABV beers. And so tonight they had they release beers every day, and they range in styles from like triple IPAs to barley wines to stouts to double brown ales. This is the first year that they have featured one of their Scribbled Lines beers, which is a mixed fermentation, wood aged, kind of a whole line of products that that they do, and they do a couple each day, and um, you can the locals. So this is the one thing. So I live in St. Paul, which is about 50 minutes from here. But if you show up every day for 8 days straight, you get an exclusive T-shirt that is probably one of the most sought after things in the local beer scene, because the gentleman who does the art here at Lupulin is an award-winning artist, and he's actually won. There is an award for beer label art, which he's won one year, and I believe I would put my money on the fact that he might win again this year for their design. Every year they have a different logo. So, for instance, like this particular skull, this was the one from 2 years ago, and their art is different every year. But they kind of put these beers on, and sometimes they have a couple different lines of beers. And like, for instance, tonight on tap, they had a 2021 Barrel God, which is like their big, luscious imperial stout that was aged in Woodford Reserve barrels. I am staying over tonight at Aaron's house. He lives a hop, skip, and a jump away. Him and his dad. It's their family. His dad, Jeff Ziert, is the co-owner. And last year they were like, you know what? Don't come up here and then have to drive home. Just stay up here with us. I said, well, I'm gonna borrow a phrase that Lauren said about 5 minutes ago. Don't threaten me with a good time. So it's nice to come up here and not have to drive, because these beers are very, very big. So I'm going to try to work my way through as many of the different ones that I'm doing them, like, responsibly in the little taster, just so I can get kind of the feel of it. But this place gets slammed. The locals love it. People come up from the cities. It's just a wonderful celebration of big, high octane beers, and this is the sixth year that they've done it, and it is an absolute blast. So that's what Big Beer Week up at Lupulin is all about.
That sounds super tasty. Also, as a tangent for a second, because Doug loves his can art, Doug, were you aware that there's awards for this?
I did not, but that makes a lot of sense because, I love good can art. I will buy beers solely based on can art, bottle art. Lots of times that leads me to trouble because the dates are old.
I was going to say can art trumps dates.
Yeah, apparently, especially like Greg and I have had multiple times in the show where we get like an IPA. I'm like, look at this cool label, and then I open it, I'm like, oh, and it's like a year old, and like because I never checked the date on the can. So yeah,
tunnel vision. It's the art is so good.
Sometimes art will just like jump off the shelf, and I think with a lot of the Lupulin cans, they have just some of the most creative, just out there art, and their logo is so recognizable. It's like a hop cone cut in half. That's this thing, but it's just like they have a beer called Blissful Ignorance, and the label art is like something out of like like it was conceived in the Mystery Machine from Scooby-Doo after a few Scooby snacks. And it's green, it's yellow, it's bright, it's vibrant. And really, I mean, you can't walk past it in the liquor store without noticing it.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of breweries don't really think about that. They don't think about what are they putting on the can to draw. I mean, when you go to your local craft beer liquor store and there's umpteen brands staring at you, how do you pick one? And I think, like Doug said, it's a lot about visuals.
Definitely a helpful aspect.
Anything about their mullet can?
Oh, fashion mullet. So the fashion mullet is a guy. It's like a guy with a mullet with sunglasses and a toothpick, and it's kind of like it's an in between. It's kind of like an in between version of an East Coast and West Coast beer. Blissful Ignorance and Hui, which are kind of their two flagship IPAs. Hui is the single IPA, and Blissful Ignorance is the double IPA. Fashion Mold is kind of like there's a little bit more bitterness, still a lot of juiciness. It's a little lower in ABV. So I think it appeals to a very wide base, but the can art is really cool. There was a guy, a beer writer back in the day that was doing an article on this place. So they're up in Big Lake, which is like halfway up to like cabin country in Minnesota, and it's in a strip mall. And the guy wrote, so this was the state's first certified cicerone. His name's Michael Agnew, and he wrote this article, and he's like, yeah, not bad for a strip mall brewery. And they were like, what does that mean? So, like, I mean, if you go to a lot of other places like Denver, Portland, Burlington,
everywhere.
There's a lot of really good ass breweries and strip malls.
Absolutely.
And so, like, the idea that like Fashion Mullet is like this guy who just like hangs around, kind of an homage to that. So they do a fun job with their marketing, and their artistic team is like, I don't know. I don't think there's a whole lot of breweries out there that really put as much thought and care into their what they put on labels as Lupulin. So it's really fun. Yeah, Daniel Fisher, he's had that blissful ignorance before. I brought that out in Virginia in 2018. I don't know if you remember the blogger from Poland, Tomasz Kopra.
Yes.
So I sent him home with a can of blissful ignorance, and he did a video on it. And to this day, that is the most clicked on thing that Lupulin has ever been associated with, because he has such a following.
He is a massive following.
And so they're like, who's this? Why are we getting so much traction in Poland? And I'm like, oh, I'll tell you why. I gave one of your beers. So
excellent. I wonder if that was as fun as this is.
Is that a service animal? Yeah.
That's a full-ass live peacock?
I did not expect that.
I know you're a traveler, man. You never saw that before? Yeah, you never saw an emotional support peacock?
No, I saw an emotional damage peacock, though.
Lauren?
I have not. I have not live. I have not seen with my own eyeballs anything other than like dogs and cats. Probably that might be it. I've heard of like an emotional teacup pig, but I've also like that smaller. Like what is happening? This is.
Is that a service animal?
They are extending their personal space with the peacock.
I think my favorite part of that video, they're like, is that an emotional sports animal? And the lady's like, yeah, duh. Like,
okay, wait, don't service animals usually have to have like the little vest? Like, is there like a peacock vest or like a peacock bandana for emotional support animal or like service animal?
I feel like if you're looking for a side hustle, that's probably a very lucrative untapped
market, like service animal adornments for specialized creatures.
It's got to be gear.
Gear, apparel.
Yeah.
You know, middle seat woes. What if you had the middle seat for that one?
Also,
I will.
It's a bird. Those things shit all the time. Like,
I know. Like, truth be told, I get a little irritated. I would get a little irritated. I've never had it before, but if I had to sit next to a baby, like, what about a peacock, Doug?
Okay, I don't know a lot about peacocks.
Is the bird just gonna sit there, or is it gonna actually at some point get mad and open that thing? Or I got so many questions. That 8-second clip is not gonna ever do it for me.
It really opened up a can of work. I have so many questions.
I will take a service animal peacock and heat 10 times out of 10 before I sit next to like a Karen who won't wear their mask. That's what I'll say. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at.
Listen, that person is sued by that peacock. How dare y'all?
I am open-minded, Zach. I just have questions. Also,
There's a lot of logistics involved there that I don't understand, I think, is the problem.
Do peacocks have leashes? Like, or do you she just have to hold it the whole time? They misunderstood.
I don't. Do peacocks behave? Like birds are generally. I don't see birds as generally obedient creatures. Like those ducks come after you and a lot.
Oh my god,
those ducks come after you. Geese come after you. Those parrots won't shut up and keep mocking you. I mean, I don't know where it ends. I just thought it was amusing. So I
wonder if they were able to stay on the flight.
You just walk around on occasion in the open.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen that. And like they seem generally chill, but like no one's bugging them. But if you're like on an airplane, like do peacocks handle cabin pressure well?
It's cool.
Lauren, I don't.
I mean, I believe that they can cover a lot of surface area with their extra feathers.
So speaking of traveling, Dan, before we get to our second beers, you have something called the Summer of Dan. A, are you going to be doing this year? And B, tell everybody what that means.
Yes, please.
Well, so Summer of Dan is kind of an homage to one of my all-time favorite sitcoms, Seinfeld. And in one of the episodes of Seinfeld, George declares that the summer that he's about to have is going to be the summer of George. And I'm a teacher, so I get, I get about 2.5 months off in the summers. And that is usually when I go on my beer jaunts. So the Summer of Dan, it started out as a joke. And then as it kind of like gained momentum, I would start going on these 3-week beer trips. And everybody was like, Beaubien, how do you do that? And I said, well, you know what? Hey, Summer of Dan, baby. And it kind of took on a thing. And now everybody comes up to me and they're like, hey, Summer of Dan, where are you going? And my wife hates it. She hates it. She works year round. She would love that Summer of Dan would just like go away. But hey, I'm telling you, babe, it's here to stay. So it's
you got to give the people what they want.
Exactly. And now people ask for it, just like you all are. And so this Summer of Dan is going to be the first time I've crossed borders to our neighbors to the north. I'm going to visit the guest that you're having on next week, Tiffany Martin. And I happened to see that the National Homebrewers Conference is taking place in Pittsburgh at the end of June. So I'm going to try to link up the dates with Pittsburgh, Canada, maybe going to Buffalo, because Tiffany was saying like, hey, Buffalo's not that far away from where I am. So the Summer of Dan is
not that far away from where I am either.
So yeah, here we go. And see, this is how it starts. You start plotting out cities, and then you got to add a couple more days. I think the first Summer of Dan started out as a long weekend. It wound up being 3 weeks in Colorado. So this is how it goes. You start with an idea, and you start talking to people. And that, yeah, my wife will need an emotional support peacock while I'm gone. And that's great. And that's wonderful. But yeah, it's just, especially after this school year, it's been a dumpster fire, folks. I don't know if you have kids in the schools or not, or if you know people. If you know a teacher, buy them a beer, for gosh darn sakes. We are taking it on the chin every day. So this summer, Summer of Dan is necessary, so it's going to be happening in Canada and possibly upstate New York, Pittsburgh. So that's kind of the plan. I need to sit down and talk with Tiffany about that. But I'm anxious to come up and visit her. She stayed with me several years ago in the fall when we kind of did our pilgrimage down to Madison to visit you, Greg. So I'm going to darken her doorstep as a surprise. Well, it's not a surprise. She knows I'm coming. So yeah, we'll see how. I'm hoping that her yard is halfway decorated for Halloween, because I know she gets into that. So that's what I'm That's going to be the Summer of Dan 2022.
Excellent.
Greg,
Lauren?
yeah, I was gonna say before that, Greg, you cracked a beer. Let's go there and then let's get Lauren in on the next.
Oh, it's just a nice little coffee stout from Martin City, Doug. You have this one yet?
Coffee.
No, I just had a coffee stout though, and I totally forgot that was in my fridge.
Yeah.
Ooh, me.
Balanced coffee. Actually, really more stouty than coffee.
Hmm.
And I like that because sometimes coffee stouts can be too much coffee. And I like coffee, but if you're going to be approachable to a lot of people, you need to have that coffee kind of, be a little bit more, into the stout. I could tell this is a stout, not a coffee, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So really good. Nice. Fantastic.
I want to be the guy that confuses the stouts with the coffees at like 8:30 in the morning and just, wear a GoPro and see where the day takes me.
Yes.
I mean,
that sounds like a good Summer of Dan, for sure.
Hey,
real quick, and then
don't
we'll
tell
get
me.
I just
Still
want
hate
to.
that.
I just want to sum up the Peacock conversation here, and no, they're not generally chill. His wife says, and so I don't. How long was that plane ride too? Like, was it 3 hours that you got a Peacock sitting there? What do you got? Let's open up the idea. Motion for aardvarks, lemurs, emus, platypus.
I will be opening up my gear shop on Etsy soon. I will keep you posted.
Capicobas,
Capybaras. Capybaras?
Capybaras.
Yeah.
They're very cute.
Yes, but they're giant.
I'll tell you what, if it would have been a peacock on the flight from Milwaukee to Cleveland that I took about 15 years ago, that thing would have pecked its way through the window and fled. It was a horrible experience.
I mean, I'm sure it would have actually, that's probably how a lot of people felt. I get it.
Yep.
Yeah, but how does a peacock get on a plane? How do we know the peacock likes that shit? I don't. Doug, do you have something?
It might have been a hostage.
Who has a second beer that they want to talk about?
I do. All right.
Okay, Doug.
All right. So, and an homage to St. Patrick's Day coming up. So I have a Irish cream dessert stout from Duclaw. So Patriarchy is like a series.
Yes.
So
Yes.
That's one 9.4. So the heavy, but the Patriarchy line is all heavy. I think the lightest one I saw out of that whole line was 6.5. So,
Doug, I haven't seen you with any dragon's milk. Have you A, not seen any, or B, not bought any?
No, I had one on the show several weeks ago where it was the chili rye barrel on one.
Yeah, but that was from like 7 years ago or something.
Yeah, at this point, everything feels like 7 years ago once you're past 3 days, Poor Dan. Dan, you probably get that more than anybody, just being a teacher and having to deal with that shit on a daily basis. Like, whoa. Time is a flat circle.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're not there, so we're not trying to go there. But if you want to go there, we'll let you.
Boy, that smells awesome. Oh.
The glass.
It's so pretty.
That's a nice looking beer, though.
Sexy glass.
This is Greg's favorite glass of mine, for the record, and I think he would steal it if he comes to my house again.
Got all the curves, yo. Yeah. Curvy glass.
Man,
the head.
Yeah, it's like if you actually had Irish cream in a beer. Like, it's super duper duper drinkable, super good. The only problem is it's almost 9.5% alcohol. So like it would be excellent.
That sounds like
there we go.
Dan, that sounds like you can have one with your eggs in the morning that you're talking about.
Yeah. Although it's more dessert, it's a dessert stout, so it's sweet. So maybe not, but
I mean,
with your French toast.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Get some waffles, pancakes, something in there. You're good.
Doug, you should be drinking out of a plastic bowl.
I'm sorry. Like how birds feed their young?
Like this.
Yeah.
Like a mouth.
Yeah. Y'all missed the stream when we had with Matt Strain, and he put up this, what was it, Doug, a critique of someone at that what was it, that the 5-star. What is
Well,
it
that
called?
5-star where they did the review of the people went to like a five Michelin star thing, and it was like an experience, and it was like art Nouveau kind of shit.
Right.
And it was, and the reviewer was like, they fed us like air or something. Something Matt just
right. One of the dishes, right? One of the dishes was fed out of a mold of someone's mouth. Yeah, it was.
You know.
Yeah. And then this guy was like, "Look, I'm a 18-star Michelin chef. Like everything that I make, y'all should appreciate. Food is art, and if you don't like it, it's like regular art. You know how like people say like, you know, art is, you know, the eye of the beholder, and no art is ugly and all that. Well, this guy was trying to like make it that lane, but the food looked and it was terrible. They said the food was terrible, and it looked horrible. And then it went viral. And Lauren, we gotta send that to you. That it was a mess. It was such a mess.
I mean, like,
and
it's food, right? And like, food, sustenance, baseline is sustenance. But then also, if it's like at a restaurant that I'm like, I didn't make myself and I'm paying for, it should like baseline taste good. But also, there's like presentation counts, right? And I think that there are some experiences that I just don't need, like eating out of a plastic mold of someone else's mouth.
Right.
At least it wasn't a mold of their butt.
I mean, also an experience that I don't necessarily need personally, but to each their own.
I'm not going to comment. There were. I'm going to get myself in trouble here. There was a player on the soccer team in Madison who drank a beer out of a plastic flamingo.
Like a lawn flamingo?
Yeah,
yeah.
The Madison team, soccer team here that's their thing. That's their mascot is a flamingo.
That makes slightly more sense.
That's like the Utah Jazz. Makes total sense together. The mascot.
Come on.
Yeah. So the videos this week there's something else.
You see Hoover Street here. Officials say it's one of the most dangerous streets in all of Los Angeles. And now...
The getaway, though. The getaway. Come on, Dan. Give us some comment on that. Give us some Midwestern flavor on that.
You see Hoover Street here. Officials say it's one of the most dangerous streets in all of Los Angeles. And now...
I mean, could you...
Does
it get any...
One thing I'll say, here's the thing. If you've ever had the pleasure of driving through Minnesota, none of these people know how to do a zipper merge. And I'm guessing that's a Minnesota transplant in a different place that decided to try to do the zipper merge, and it didn't work. I do the zipper merge, but nobody else knows how to do the zipper merge here.
That might not be specific to where you live. I feel like I experience that lack of knowledge often as well.
I'm gonna at the risk of sounding completely like, what is a zipper merge? Are you just meaning like a regular merge?
But like an alternate.
Well, yes. Okay. So yes, because you're on the East Coast, and Lauren, you're on the West Coast, where people drive way better than the Midwest. Greg, you know, people in Wisconsin and Minnesota.
That's
and
very
Illinois
debatable.
I was like, do they? That's bad.
They do. People drive like.
It wasn't until my first time actually out in Massachusetts when I rented a car, and everybody's like, you got to watch out up there. People drive like crazy. And there's even a name for it. They're called massholes. And I was freaked out. I was like, am I going to die? And so what it really is people just drive aggressively. And I'm like, okay, this suits me just fine. Because as Lauren messaged me earlier this afternoon, I had forgotten that my Twitter profile says I am a blogger. I believe the line is,
would you like me to read it for you?
No, I can't remember what it says. I don't know.
I love craft beer, slow cars, fast women, and eating good food with friends. Which I'm like, okay, what is a slow car? Like, what constitutes a slow car?
I think
it's the opposite of a Tracy Chapman song.
Right, exactly. That's what it is. So
Sorry,
ever
Dave.
since I drove around in Massachusetts and the East Coast, I've come back to Minnesota, and some of my friends are like, "You drive fast now." I'm like, "No, this is how people are supposed to drive. I do not like wasting time." And so, like, a zipper merge is like a normal merge, but people in Minnesota, Minnesota, there's a thing called Minnesota Nice. They get over right away, and then they just they create traffic jams where they don't need to exist, and it's just brutal.
That's fair.
So, yeah, and I experienced it last summer when I was out in San Diego. I'm like, yeah, this is my speed, man. I like to get out there and go fast. Like that's how it goes. So, yeah.
I would like to say for the record that there is no worse driving experience than driving in New York City, because those people are lunatics.
Oh, yeah. Well, when you pack 10 million people into 4 square blocks, what do you expect?
and they all drive super fast. They don't give a shit about any rules. It's like Mad Max. It's fucking crazy to drive it. I really dislike driving in New York City.
Yeah.
I have not attempted, and I'm okay with that.
Hey, Dan, did you get a second beer yet?
I've got a little bit left of this. So somebody brought all these random sours tonight. So there's one from Ale Apothecary, one from Anchorage Brewing, and I don't remember which one this was, and there's just like a teeny tiny little bit left. But I've been I got to get Aaron back in here to get me now that we're almost done with the show. I can graduate up to one of those. They've got one that's like 13.5%. It was a stout that was aged in a rum barrel. So I got to get some of that next. But he's busy in the other room. So
I want to try that one.
That sounds tasty.
Yeah. Daniel sold his car. Now he has.
Ooh, sidewalk rage is real. It's like anywhere you're walking, right? Like also grocery stores, crosswalks, especially in touristy places where people are like, oh, let's take a picture and just stop in the middle, or like on an end cap intersection at the store. And you're like, well, I'm going to accidentally bowl you over. I don't know what you're doing here. Do you not see other people?
Right. Zach is right. We fuck around and find out. I think that it feels like that's all of California.
LA, I lived in LA for a couple years, and it's faster there. It's speedier anger there. I think that's real.
You gotta speed when you can, because I just feel, to me, LA just feels like gridlock. Like I just feel like people pull out their car and now they're in traffic like the second they pull out.
That is why the nanosecond that a light turns green, everyone's honking.
Right. I feel we can get further here, Dan, quicker than they can on the East Coast. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
I can get up to me going up to visit you would take 4 hours, like you said. Me going to visit you and it was on the West Coast would take 18. I feel.
Yeah.
And how much distance? Or how far are y'all usually?
It's like 300 miles, right? 350 or something like that.
Yeah, 250.
It's all highway though.
Lawrence, I roll.
Like,
all highway. Yeah, it is all highway.
So, Lauren, have you ever been to the Midwest before?
I don't think so. I don't think
That's
so.
a no.
If you had to think about it, you haven't.
I mean,
Right.
also because like
The big sigh was like
travel places.
Yeah.
Right. When she was like, that's why I knew it was a no immediately. I was like, right, like Doug said, if you have to think about it, you haven't been. Right. You would remember your time in the Midwest, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a ton of traffic, but we got some good beer stuff.
I mean, I'll travel places for like worthwhile, like food, beverage, and people.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all. That's what I need.
The Twin Cities has a very awesome food scene. It's a really interesting confluence of a lot of different ethnic backgrounds. St. Paul has one of the best Hmong Vietnamese food scenes that you'll find anywhere. And I stand by that. I was at my go-to pho place, and there was a couple from San Francisco that came here because they're like, we heard this pho was awesome. If you like pho, St. Paul, I could take you on a foot tour that would.
And Martin, the breweries are fantastic. What I love is the Green Line. Did I get that right, Dan? I've been missing a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
The Green Line goes. It's mass transit basically, but it goes to the Twin Cities. And if you Google it, the last time I was up there, you Google it. Google Green Line breweries. You could spend days. You can spend
convenience
days. Getting on the Green Line and that's all I did when I was there. And me and Dan missed each other. I think you were out of town or working or something.
Yeah.
We missed each other. But like, even if you go, my favorite, Dan, is when you go to the end of the Green Line in Minneapolis and it ends right by where the Twins play and the soccer team plays. And then there's Inbound and I don't think Indeed Indeed's out there. Yeah, you know them all. Yeah, Summit,
Modest, Fulton,
Inbound. And there's a cider place there too. I believe there's a distillery there. I mean, it's just all, and you can just jump on the train line and just go around. And then, like Dan says, the food is just amazing. I don't know, Twin Cities is one of my
both food and beverage. Very important.
Twin Cities is one of my favorite places to avoid. But every place has a downside. We all know about the stupid fucking idiot cops. But besides that, it's really highly recommended, in my opinion, the Twin Cities. It's a place that you could literally fly in, take the mass transit from where you fly in up to where you're staying. I'm pretty sure there's mass transit there, right, Dan? From the airport to the Green Line.
Yeah,
you can take the Green Line. It's just so easy, so nice. And the people are Midwest nice, so they're nice. Midwest nice is a.
Can you describe Midwest nice to me?
You want this one, Dan? You want this one?
Yeah, I'll take this one because I oftentimes, especially at work, I am often accused of being a bad Minnesotan because I say it like it is.
Okay, not as nice.
Minnesota nice is people will be nice to your face.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about you behind your back. And we have a phrase over
very fast.
A lot of people, they say, like a good neighbor, stay over there. Like Minnesotans want their space and they do not want to intermingle. And in St. Paul, I step out my door and I am 8 feet away from my neighbor's house. So we're packed in like sardines, but I don't mind it. I'm a social guy. I'm not from around here. So my genetic code is different than these Norwegians, these Swedes, these Germans who are very just stoic. You know, it takes a special kind of a person to live in a place where, 45 degrees is considered shorts weather. So it's a different mindset, and you just got to embrace it. And I love rattling people's cages because I'll say what I'm not supposed to say. When other people just stop at the passive aggressive, I'm like, this is not good. Why did you do that? And so
you did a bad job. People are like,
yeah. And I've talked to people. Greg kind of alluded to it with the Minneapolis Police Department, but it's come a long way, but it still has a long way to go when it comes to people of color feeling safe and feeling comfortable. And what I would say is that ever since the George Floyd killing and the riots that ensued, well, yes, I would definitely. Now, Aaron is signaling me with he has a bottle of a brown spirit that I think I might have to have a little bit of. But there's a lot of talk that Minneapolis is like a disaster area. That's not the case.
It is Fernet Friday, after all.
Fernet Friday here at Lupulin.
Okay.
I'll use the analogy of a forest.
That might be a disaster.
Every now and then, a forest needs to kind of burn down to create new life. And I believe that is what's happening in Minneapolis. There's a false narrative that's being spun. And a lot of people would like to have people believe that Minneapolis is this war zone, and it's not. There's a lot of companies that have shut down and moved out of Minneapolis. What that's paving the way for is small businesses coming in, and it's a tilling of the soil. It's creating new growth. And what I think people want outsiders to believe is that Minneapolis is a hellscape. It's not. It's becoming more diverse. It's becoming more progressive, and I would encourage people to put it on their list of places to visit, because we have great people, great beer, great food, great outdoors. Don't come in January because it sucks.
What
time?
Frozen. What is the
but
appropriate?
Come in June,
window?
come in July.
Is
The
it
fall is great when the colors change. It's beautiful. You can drive up to Duluth, up to Lake
Lauren,
Superior.
let's do. Lauren, just tell me when you're flying in.
February.
Tell us when you're flying in. I'll meet you up there. It's only
I don't.
4 hours
I was like,
away.
I need not snow weather because California, and I don't have the outfits appropriate or the shoe wear.
Yeah.
Else, but I'm open.
Need a pair of boots.
I know, and I know it sounds weird, and I know it's going to sound weird, and Dan can back me up. Minnesota can get fucking hot. Like
that is another thing. I was
get,
like, I run warm.
It can get really hot. I mean, obviously, it's known for its cold and all that. But like
humid?
for 5 days, it can get really hot.
For 5 days, summer is 5 days.
No, the really hot part of summer.
I mean, in a good year,
what is really hot? What is
right.
that? What degrees is really hot?
Dan?
Oh, we'll get 100 and humid. Yeah, that's gross. But there's 3 days in June where it's 72 and dry, and there's a perfect breeze, and that's beer drinking weather. So
Okay,
come
great.
then.
Let me know when that happens. I'll plan for that.
Well, we could just hide on the red. We can just hide on the green line, Lauren.
Okay.
My family gets we get an Airbnb that's really close to the green line. We drive up there, and then we generally don't drive around. We just get on the green line.
Yeah.
And then, Uber here and there if we have to go really far off of it. But you don't have to go far off of it because, again, there's so many good breweries and there's so many good places to eat that most of that is on that line. And if it isn't on that line, it's walkable. So maybe you need to walk a little bit to work off some of that beer and food that you're eating. And that's how I kind of look at it. Dan, I love that that what is that Italian market in St. Paul. It is
Cassetta.
It is
Cassetta.
so, man, it is it's a place our family goes up there, and that's the last place we go because we go there and then we just get a whole bunch of food and then just pack it in our thing and drive home. We have breakfast there. It's just great. I don't know, man. I can't say enough about the Twin Cities. I love it. Again, the only negative is, again, the cops. But I've got to be aware of cops everywhere I go. So that's not really I mean, you can almost be like, yeah, whatever, that's fine. And yeah, it's just great. I can't say enough.
Noted. I have several places and people that I need to visit. So if anybody would like to hire me for things, I'd like to make a lot of money so I can visit everybody. That'd be really great.
Yeah, we need to get you a traveling gig for sure.
Yeah, I'm for hire. Ask me. I don't know what you need. I would like to travel.
But don't bring your peacock though.
I mean, fine.
Okay.
It is humid as fucking. Do y'all have a lot of mosquitoes? You have to, right, Pam?
It's our state bird, of course.
Oh, okay. When are those dead or away? Are those? Do I have to come in the winter? Because I don't.
If you come in October, it is crisp, 65, 70 degrees.
Yeah.
The foliage is beautiful. There's no bugs. It's not cold.
Yep.
That's a good time if you don't want to deal with mosquitoes. Come in October.
I can, but I can't deal with mosquitoes. I'm like the allergic kind where it's like, oh, it's like one mosquito bite. It's like, no, it's like the entire. I'm less happy to be around, and I don't want that for myself or anyone else. So I do my best to avoid them. So October, got it.
Mosquitoes are awful. That's true in the summertime.
Okay,
what you got, Doug?
Well, I was going to say in New York State, I think because we have the Great Lakes and all that, it's humid as shit in the middle of summer. And like, I don't get mosquito bites a lot. My poor wife, man, she could go out now in March. It's supposed to snow 7 to 10 inches tomorrow. If there are any mosquitoes within a 5-mile radius, they will find her and she will have mosquito bites that day.
I feel for
she'll
her.
use bug spray, and it doesn't matter. They home in on her, and I don't know. Like, I can walk out in like a field of them and just kind of be like, "Hey, how you doing?" And then nothing. And she's like wearing like a mosquito net around her body, and she still comes in and has fucking mosquito welts all over.
I would say that people who get mosquito bites compared to the people who don't apparently attract mosquitoes, there's a similar level of jealousy and anger between the people who can fall asleep immediately and people who can't.
I can do that.
That is a really
I can do that.
comparison.
I hate I'm bad with mosquitoes. So like I feel like my version I've seen both sides and I feel like it's a similar energy.
Keep that energy. Absolutely.
Ugh.
Speaking of energy, I don't know what y'all think of this guy's energy.
Pretty sympathetic and supportive of Putin. Why has this change occurred?
Well, the deep state has always made Putin to look like the bad guy. But he's a good guy. He's taken out all the biolabs, child trafficking areas, adrenochrome harvesting areas. If people would have watched when Trump came into office right at the beginning, when you saw them hand that soccer ball off, that soccer ball had so much information in it to take down everybody that Putin's been getting all the intel on for years. It had a lot of data in it. And that's what's going on.
Wow.
I mean, you can't fix stupid. Yeah. Wow. A lot of data in a soccer ball.
Yeah, when you start your conversation off with, well, the deep state, you're really starting from a position of stupidity. I'm sorry.
Wait, what does the soccer ball have in it? I forget.
Information.
So much information and data.
So much that he bounced it on the floor to his
wife. Right. This is what we're dealing with, y'all.
So often I see, not so often, like I see videos like this and you're like, okay, I see where we're starting. And yet it continues to shock and surprise me that it goes further from the beginning where I'm like, I have literally no words.
This is why people are bringing peacocks on planes for emotional support. You know, the country is going a bad place.
Well, Zach can say as a deep stater, he hides a whole bunch of things. So.
In other things other than soccer balls, is the information everywhere?
Yes, and peacocks too.
Oh, I was gonna say, Doug, that's what it was. Mm-hmm. They hid something in the peacock and all those feathers and shit. Right?
When they fan it out, it has like a message on.
Okay, I promise this is my last video, this lady's trying to hide something.
Dude, you can't fucking put that kid in the fucking trunk. Dude, you cannot put your fucking kid in the goddamn trunk. Bitch, you cannot fucking have that goddamn kid in the fucking trunk. Take the fucking kid out the fucking trunk.
Dude, I was gonna take him.
Dude.
Check this out.
No, fuck no, dude. Bitch.
The videos were real special this week.
What is happening?
All right, Dan. As a teacher of young minds, how many times have you stuck kids in your trunk?
One or two.
Well, I mean, there's a big difference between how many times I have and how many times I wanted to. I think patience is a virtue. You gotta have patience if you're going to be a teacher. And there's plenty of times where I wanted to, I always threaten in a joking manner in case the superintendent's watching. But I always threaten, if a kid's being a goofball, I said, I'm going to throw you out into the hall without opening the door. And, you gotta just got to roll with it. You just got to be, yeah. I've never wanted to put somebody in the trunk of a car, but that's just
she was going to take him out. Relax, y'all.
Is it just? It's just a timeout place while we're parked.
I guess so.
All right, and the other thing is, it was clearly warm there because she was in a short and t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
So you stick somebody in a trunk, that shit's hot. There's no
right.
Uh,
and what?
Well,
Lauren,
hey,
I can add, or we'll just sit there.
If you want to be thrown in the trunk of a car, but not have to worry about overheating, come to Minnesota. I mean, we got very cool temperatures. Sometimes a little time out in the trunk of a car can be a very warming experience. So you never know.
Right.
For all those who do want to be thrown in a trunk, noted.
She was training the kid to escape. She was doing him a favor.
maybe it was the kid's escape room.
It was a game with puzzles. Full of puzzles.
Lauren, I'm glad you're here because you can give me a female perspective of.
Lauren did open a second beer. What did you open up before we go forward here?
Oh, hold on. Let me ask the question first, real quick, and then we'll get the second beer. What is this? What is this? There seems to be a wave, or it seems to be a new trend for women to call other women dudes. And she's like, that was clearly a woman screaming at another woman saying, "Dude, what are you doing? Dude, like, dude." And like, I don't know. And also women are calling other women dicks too. I don't know if you've noticed this. So it seems like y'all are taking like the masculine terms that you use for us and like turning it. Have you noticed this, or is it just me?
Okay. Well, here's the thing. I do, as someone who also worked with like groups of kids who are impressionable, whatever. I swear this is related. That I would try to, when I addressed a group, not say like, "Hey guys," because it is boys, girls, non-binary, whatever, you don't know, and like they're young enough that like it may or may not matter. It is the English jargon, right? Like people just say guys, but okay, I'm trying to just be inclusive because maybe people that might affect them. They're not trained in that way yet mentally to be like, oh, that's just how we speak. So similarly, I do feel like dude has kind of is like just a word that you reference. Like I say that when I talk to people, or if someone says something that surprised me, I'm like, dude, what? Like
Right,
it's not specifically a
male anymore.
Yeah, it's almost just like a beginning exclamation. Maybe, I mean, like sometimes still addressed to people, but like I don't. That is, at least for me and the groups of friends that I have, I feel like is just a neutral term a little bit, because like I'm not going to be like dudette, like that doesn't that doesn't work.
I would feel awkward calling you dude though.
That's fair, and also I think that if someone said it to me, I wouldn't necessarily think much of it. But again, that's just me.
Right.
And it's all kind of personal. But I do feel like most circles I've been around, like dude feels like a very like not meaningful word, if you will. Like it's just kind of like a whoa, what is happening? It's kind of just like the filler word where you're like kind of shocked and like trying to formulate a sentence.
Right. Dude, right.
Yeah, like I don't know, like what else am I gonna say? Like, ma'am, sir, like like what else? Like what is the other thing? Like it's kind of just like a neutral thing.
Yeah, then she went harder and called her a bitch then. Again, I'm not saying it. It was at that point it was kind of deserved. But
that was not
right. Well, the whole
if somebody's trying to lock me in a car, I'm calling them all sorts of things.
Yeah, any words. I mean, all words.
Right.
Any languages that come to mind, whatever you got.
That was the thing that jumped off at me second, besides her cramming the kid in the trunk, which is obvious.
Yeah, I think that was a little more pressing.
Right, but the fact that she was like, dude, I was like, oh, this is interesting.
There's
so much going on.
I mean, and we don't have, again, to me, dude feels, for me,
sort of
like a more neutral, like a it's just a general like addressing term. Is there a different like what would, if you're like, I wouldn't say dude, like what would you use?
Me in that situation?
Like hey, like just
Yeah. Lady,
just
lady, lady, lady. It would just be lady over and over for me.
Wouldn't be for me. I would be yelling, "Excuse me!"
like just like a
But-
general.
Yes, because for me, I live in a world of gendered language in my house and non-gendered language as well, and so it's important to understand that sort of distinction from my perspective. So now, do I fuck that up a lot? Yeah, I do. But and dude, like you said, dude seems pretty ubiquitous, kind of just blanket term.
But Doug, I would argue with you in that situation where that person doesn't deserve that respect. I would argue
That's
that.
fair. That's
So
fair.
then I would say, so then that's why I would be, all that would go out of my mind. I wouldn't just run up to a person. But in that aspect, I would, and I might start cussing at her. I might start cussing at her, right? If I saw literally her shoving a fucking kid in the trunk.
How about
like,
hey,
my mind just loses it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Right.
Also
now,
neutral.
So I understand the dude angle there. I just thought it was interesting. That was the way that, that was just what came out of her mouth in a heated situation, because she was just, the lady that was yelling was just like caught up in the moment. Like, what am I seeing? Like, I don't even believe I'm seeing this. So whatever came out after that is a surprise. She's not really even thinking. You know what I mean? So it wasn't really about a gender. It was just more like, and I've heard, again, other women call other women dudes. And I'm just like, wow, that's really interesting about how we're taking our language, Doug, and we're like morphing. We're like taking a lot of the gender things and actually neutralizing them. And I think it's cool. Overall, I think it's cool because, who cares? Like, not who cares, but like, let's just make it all gender neutral. So then, let's not assume anything here. But that was clearly a female, I thought. And I would have screamed something at her ass because.
Yeah, I think that. And
come on now,
who knows? But if it was me, I think that it would just be just yelling, "Hey, what are you doing?" Like, just like, what is happening? Like, I'm not addressing you. Like, stop.
Right. It would have been, lady, what the hell, lady? What? That's how I would have done it. The whole gender thing and the rationality would have went out, and I might have started cussing her too. So cussing at her too. Like, what the hell? Like, there's certain things I wouldn't. I mean,
don't do that.
Yeah, there's. You know me, Doug. I'm not even trying to really even get into that. But like, if you see somebody doing that, that's one of those times where like you have to say something as a human. You can't just not say anything. Like, if you do, you're as bad as she is. Like, if you just look at her and walk away and not say anything, you got to say something. That's a kid in the damn trunk. Oh, sorry. That really moved me, that one. I don't know.
Hey, can I make another comment, and maybe you all can piggyback on this?
Yes.
Remember, like, I'm a person of a certain age, so when I was a kid, you just minded your business.
Yes.
You didn't say shit.
Yes.
Somebody's in there, that's their business.
Yes.
And I think a lot now is if you see something, like when I was a kid, if that was happening, you just shut your mouth and fucking went away. And now I think there's a lot more empathy for that kind of stuff to understand. Hey, that's not an okay situation. You need to speak up. Do you all notice that too? Maybe that's just how I kind of see it, is that we're a little bit more willing to kind of put ourselves into situations that when I was a kid, you would never even think twice to stick your, like I've seen parents fucking smack the shit out of their kids in the middle of like supermarkets. And when I was a kid, and you said, well, that's their parents, but shut up, move along. And that's kind of like, I don't know, do you notice that sort of behavior that's changed now? It seems a little bit more appropriate to do that for me. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think people are just more in tune with like, just like there's a better way to deal with a situation than that. Like, it's very, like, not productive.
Yeah. I feel like some of it is with like the age of the internet and stuff like that. Like, you can see a lot more, and like people share a lot more on like social media, and like, especially in pandemic times, like we're in each other's like homes potentially. Like, this is a living room. Like, you just see and have access to so much more that there's almost like a, like, either just common knowledge of like, oh, this is not the norm, or like a responsibility more so with all of that, just like being able to see and be part of more like community norms. I don't know if that's the right word I want, but something like that.
Doug's right. My mother told you mind your business. That's not your business. You know what I mean? Mind your business if you don't want anybody else in your business. Well, that's just my business. Okay, maybe not the deep state guy. Maybe not the.
You have to make choices.
Right. Maybe not the zipper merge guy. Maybe not even the peacock. I mean, I would look at you, but I don't know if I would even say anything to the peacock lady unless I had to sit to her. Or the damn peacock feather which kept hitting me. You have to say something, right? I mean, but otherwise, though, Doug, I would have kept my mouth on the peacock thing and laughed under my breath and probably took a couple pictures and sent them off on my social media.
Unless you were sitting next to them, then it would be a problem.
That would be a problem.
Right.
Like pushing the little button. I need a flight attendant.
Right. Physical harm is a little bit, because we, jumping off of what Doug says, a lot of these times when we see physical harm being done, and then like Lauren says, we see him on a video, a lot of people come in and be like, oh, well, that's great. You're not helping out, but you're ready to video it. So then we have that level of judgment, Doug, that I don't think we used to have before. When, again, like, oh, yeah, she's videoing it, but she's not saying anything. No, that lady was videoing it and saying something. So then, you know what I mean? It's hard to really... Right, and great on her, because that's what's up. But yeah,
you'll have to make choices in each situation and like who you are and all that stuff. But I think people are either more willing or more open to that idea, like that's okay, especially with a lot of turmoil that's been happening as of late. That is just like there's like a humanity responsibility of like, dude, people, come on. So.
Oh yeah, and as y'all can see, the videos were I cut off about 4 or 5 videos were, man, they weren't as exciting, like, since the war and all that, it's kind of been taken over. But this week, Lauren, they came back, as you saw,
with a vengeance.
And I think part of it too is we're getting back to quote normal times. I was going to add, one of my last questions for Dan was what's going on in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Twin Cities, as far as, getting back to, because Dan's a frequenter of breweries and he has his favorite. And Dan, what are you seeing up there as far as, because I know, Lauren, I'm pretty sure us three here are not the people to ask about what's going on in breweries, because I'm pretty sure Lauren is still hiding. I know that Doug is still mostly hiding, and I've been mostly hiding still. I haven't been to any, but soon. But what are you seeing? What's going on up there?
Well, it's interesting. We had about a month and a half ago, we were one of the places that was not doing well with the pandemic. Once Omicron came up, we were one of the worst states in the union as far as cases and hospitalizations, and that's dropped down in the last couple of weeks. And actually, St. Paul and Minneapolis did away with their mask mandates about a week and a half ago. And so, I think people are, things are opening back up for better or for worse. And I think we're also blessed with a higher, at least in the metro, a higher than country average level of vaccination rates. And so I think with the waning of the Omicron and more people getting vaccinated, and I think people are cautiously kind of dipping their toe back in that going out pool. I don't know. I still wear a mask, indoors if I'm moving out and about or, moving away from my table. I feel like that is a nice way to kind of show respect to the people working at the restaurant or bar. It's a way to keep myself safe. I wear a mask at school. And I just think it just makes sense just to try to stay safe. But it also, if you go outside the metro, there's still those little pockets where the pandemic never existed. So, but in the Twin Cities, a lot of breweries are still requesting that you wear masks if you're moving around. A lot of the people working the breweries are still wearing masks, and I think there's not that many. It's a very small vocal minority of people that have a problem with it, but for the most part, it's been pretty good. But things are definitely opening up. I'm noticing more beer events happening, and I feel like there's this strange dichotomy between people wanting to be cautious, but people also wanting to get back to like social interaction. So, luckily, in Minnesota, you know, allegedly spring is right around the corner. So being able to get outdoors again, um, it's supposed to be 50 degrees next Tuesday. So you'll see people,
but it's
you know, just shorts and all sorts of stuff. You know, people are ready to get outside, but you know, it's. I think that they realize that the numbers are going down, and that means like, you know, from a business standpoint, it makes sense to open up because a lot of these places are struggling. It's not like California where like outdoor seating has been can be a thing, you know. So I feel for a lot of these places, you know, they've taken it. It's been hard. It's been hard. I mean, winter's hard regardless, you know, and if you have to stay indoors more, it's tough on people's mental well-being. So, but things are opening up. I feel like, you know, I still see a lot of people wearing masks, and that makes me more comfortable. So, you know, I think it's as things let up, it becomes easier to kind of venture outside. And, you know, as it gets warmer, people will be able to enjoy patio beers and, you know, kind of get a little bit back to a sense of normalcy. But
yeah, it's supposed to be wind chill 15 below here tonight. So yeah. So if that's what it is in Madison, I'm not even gonna ask Dan where it is up there. I'm not even gonna ask.
Let me just say I'm gonna be cutting a tauntaun open and sleeping inside it tonight.
But
are you still need my long underwear?
So, right. But you're not seeing like you're not seeing the volume that you normally would see, because I know that
no, heavens no.
Okay.
It's down. It's still down. I mean, it's better, but it's not, you know. And you know, this is probably not unique to Minnesota, but January and February tend to be kind of like the slowest months of the year. So I think it's kind of hard to really get a sense. I feel like, you know, with St. Patrick's Day about a week out, that's a big deal. You know, I think places will be packed for that. And that'll kind of like be kind of like the unofficial kind of like, okay, we're kind of rebounding type of situation. So
I think we got two things going on. I think most people want to go back to normal. I think only a certain few are doing it, if that makes sense. Like, I think people have in their mind that they want to go out, and then my youngest, this conversation I've been brought up in the house is we're kind of, I would say that I wouldn't say extreme, but I would say that generally the people in my house just are fine with going quarantine for another year. They don't want to, but they will be fine doing it, if that makes sense. So I've been trying to. I think I'm the I don't even want to say sensible. I think I'm the one who's most ready to go back out and do things, even though I still haven't. So I've at least broached the conversation. I just continue to have a conversation about it. I don't say I want to do it, but my 16-year-old was basically like, no, I don't, no. I was like, so when are we going to be ready to go back into places? When are we going to be ready to go to our favorite taco joint and just sit there and go eat? Well, not yet. Oh, okay. And it's just a conversation. Like, I don't want to, sound like I'm judging. I just want to have that conversation. I want the conversation to be, and I think that's what people, I think that's how we start, is to have a conversation, Dan. Especially if you're not, if you're not feeling comfortable going back out now, then when?
Right.
Like, what is your idea of a good, and I'll ask y'all that, and then we'll ask Doug what he's watching. But how do y'all think about this? Like, when the numbers are zero, because it's certainly not when when the government tells us we don't have to wear masks, because they've already done that, and all y'all haven't moved yet. So then when is it? Is there a time? Is it a feel? What is it, Lauren? I see you're moving there. I see the facial expressions going. Have you and your significant other, or you and your friends, or you and your family talked about this, or where are you at with all this?
So I feel like that's like a discussion that I've actually, like what you were just saying, I was like, okay, what are we waiting for? Because like it's like it's like, okay, it's better. It's like, is it better? Because it feels, I don't know yet. Like, let me give it a week and see what happens now that mask mandates or whatever. And I don't know. I feel like it is a little bit of a feeling and a little bit of a practice thing because like we've been out of practice for basically 2 years. So it feels weird to do things. I know you mentioned this earlier where it's just like, I'm maybe not doing as much, but like I haven't gone inside to eat anywhere, but like I did a outside brewery hangout. I've done a couple of those, and like actually I have a couple friends who are going today because I have my Second Fridays crew that we used to go every month on Second Fridays, and like they went out, but I was like, I'm on a live stream with some people, so have fun. But like I'm open to that, but I haven't been like, let me eat inside a closed restaurant yet, because again, it feels super weird because I haven't done that in years, plural. So a little bit of it is just pushing the comfort level a little bit because I'm out of practice, but I feel like looking at cases and stuff, it looks pretty down. Like it feels like it's not as much in the news of like chaos. So I feel like it's starting, but again, it's practice.
Yeah, I'm not eating at any restaurant yet. But I also have high risk, so I have to be a little more careful. Like tonight, we went to a course thing for one of my kids, and we're in a gymnasium, and Jill and I sat kind of apart from everybody, but we were both masked up, but 95% of people there were. And that's their comfort level. I'm actually at a point now where I used to kind of really judge people for that shit, but I'm just at a point where I can't control any of that. I'm going to mask up inside for a bit. I don't know what the number, I don't have a magic number. I could say it's at 0. This is never going to be a 0. COVID is always going to be with us at this point. It's going to be an endemic. It's going to be booster like flu. That's what I think. And I'll get a booster every damn year. That's fine by me. Hey, if that's what I have to do to stay healthy and safe, that's what I'll do. Excuse me, but that's just me.
Okay. So then actually maybe the question needs to be framed differently. Because you're already going indoors, Doug, but it's indoors where you feel that it's something that you have to do. Like you have to go see your son, or you have to, support your kids, or you have to go to work, or you have to. So you're ready to go and do those things that you have to. You're not ready to go do options, things that are optional. Like, like Thai place, that Thai place that y'all got for me when I was there. Just for example, if y'all could go eat there, you're not going to do that, but you'll go and get the well, you probably can't because you're air conditioned. But just saying, in an ideal world, you'll go get takeout with a mask on, and because it's not, so that's optional. So then it's really about the mask, then, right? Because so then what? Is there a level of you taking off your mask at this point? Do you even see that in the near future?
I think patio eating would be where I would be okay with it. I'm pretty okay when I'm outside. But like Dan said, where he is, I'm in New York State. You can't be outside in 10-degree weather eating food. That's impossible.
Right.
Plus, now I'm on a million fucking drugs, so all my blood thinners and all that shit. I'm cold when it's 60. I used to be like, it was 60. I was like, man, I could wear a tank top and shorts outside. This is great. And now I can't do that. So, but just the point being is like, for me, I think if there's outdoor seating and there's enough space that I feel comfortable, I think space is going to be, for me, the real litmus line for me. That's going to be where if I'm outside and I'm 10 feet away from someone and I'm sitting there, I'm going to feel okay because I'm outside. Every study shows being outside, the circulation is a million times better, so you're less likely. There's always going to be a risk. I don't think that's ever going to really fully go away, but you have to mitigate what are you comfortable with? And I'm going to say in the winter time, I'm probably still going to wear masks when I go to like the grocery store because everybody's fucking sick. Like even if you don't have COVID, the amount of people you go into a grocery store and they're just hacking away, and I'm like,
yeah, I don't want the flu now, right?
I don't want that either.
Right.
So anyway, that's just where I am. I think if I'm outside and have enough space, I'm going to be fine. If I have to go inside and it's a contained space with shitty ventilation, probably going to wear a mask for a while. Maybe that will change, but for now, that's what I'm going with. And if I was doing what Dan did for a living, I work from home. I don't have to worry about that. But if I was doing what you do, Dan, I'd be wearing a mask every damn day too.
Oh yeah, I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. And like you said, I mean, like I work in a petri dish. I mean, we're talking middle schooler, mouth breather. They're snot everywhere. It's like so. Like I'm like. Also, I told my students the other day, I'm like, hey, you know, our district is voting on removing the mask mandate. I said, I don't care what you all do. I'm still going to wear a mask. And it's not because I'm necessarily paranoid about COVID, but like I have become to really enjoy the lack of dealing with your halitosis. I mean, middle schooler breath is about as bad as it gets. So pandemic or no pandemic, if I don't have to have my face nearly burnt off by somebody's hot morning breath, I'm here for it, man. So that's the bonus of it all for me.
Not to mention the deodorant issue with middle schoolers, which is
I mean it's like, did you have a rodeo in here? And no, those are just 36
no.
It's no, you know, it's bad news.
It's a lot of body heat generating
a lot of active glands in one place, and that's dangerous. I mean, it's a little dicey.
Yeah.
Active glands.
Yeah, the lady of this house just bought masks last week, and I was kind of like poking at her and making fun. I'm like, "You buy masks? It's over the pandemic," because we've had the pandemic's over joke for. I mean, now it's been going on for years because you know they were saying it was over before it even started. So like, you know, we still have that, but like that's kind of where my house is. Like, you know, she's not done, and so she's still buying masks and. That's and that's fine. It's fine because I need a new one, by the way. But but yeah, it's gonna be a while until I'm not masked up somewhere, especially indoors. I'm gonna still do it. Y'all can look at me crazy all you want. I don't really care.
Oh, right. Amen to that. Fuck them.
Right. So Doug wants to do something. I was trying to get out of it this week because during pre-production, I asked y'all what y'all are watching, and I got nothing back. I literally got nothing. So then I'm like, nobody's watching anything. It's cool. But apparently Doug is. And Doug just assumes that I know he's always watching something. So Doug,
I always have something to talk about.
Dan and Lauren, you'll still have a chance to answer this question if you want after Doug, though, because he has something.
Yeah, so what I started watching this week, I talked about it last week, was the beginning of this show, Winning Time, which is basically the rise of the Lakers dynasty. Talks about Dr. Jerry Buss buying the Lakers, and then he bought it in the middle of them getting ready to draft Magic Johnson. And it is unbelievably great. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a show shot the way this is. Like you always hear about people like with The Office where they did like breaking the fourth wall where they would talk to the camera. The first whole half of the show is just that. And John C. Reilly plays Jerry Buss. And it is just fucking great how he plays him. And they talk about like, and of course, again, I'm older. So like the idea of the draft that year with Magic Johnson was Magic Johnson or Larry Bird. And the guy who directs it, Adam McKay, who also directed, I think he also directed Don't Look Up, which I talked about in the show before. He's unbelievably great at directing stuff. And it was funny. It was like they did this thing where, and I'm going to spoil this bit because it doesn't spoil the story. It just spoils just a bit of it.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. So the part was where where they're talking about Larry Bird, hardworking, and everything that they said behind it on the screen, he flashed the word white. Hardworking, down home, white. And it just did that for everything they talked about Larry Bird. They did it Irvin Johnson, athletic, black. They just did it. And that was like a kind of a thing that the reporters didn't really talk about at that time, was just the the dichotomy of white versus black, where it was like the great white hope of Larry Bird and, Magic Johnson. And it was, there's a line in that show that actually made me just gasp with how great the line was. It's so good. And if you like basketball at all, it's not even, I didn't even get into the basketball part of it really at all, because they talked about Jerry West as their coach, and Jerry West was a giant dick. And people don't think he's a giant dick because he's the logo of the NBA, and he's this like kind of elder statesman in the NBA who's really nice. Back then he was an asshole. And like I just think it's excellent. But that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I love that show.
Cool. So is it a mini series or is it a movie? What is it?
No, it's a show. So they only did the first episode, but I will watch the rest of this just based on the first episode with how great it was directed, how well it was acted. I will watch the rest of that series. That's gonna be great.
So it's a mini series, or it's a whole, or they're gonna do like 10 or 15? I don't even know.
I have no idea. I don't think they've said it yet, but like I said, John C. Reilly, who's a great actor, who's been in, he was in a million things. Yeah, and he's usually kind of just this. He's played in some serious roles, but he's usually like the Ron Burgundy, Lauren, like counterpart of just this really goofy thing with Will Ferrell, and they always play it. No, this is like him being very smart, where he's a little serious but really funny, and just I can't say enough about how good that show is. So,
dang. Okay, Lauren. You don't have anything?
I'm not that interesting this week.
Okay. Dan, you watch anything that's interesting?
As funny as this sounds, I just about 3 days ago wrapped up. I rewatched from start to finish Cheers.
Okay.
Like the old sitcom. And I was actually really delighted with how well it holds up. Aside from Sam Malone's toxic masculinity, a lot of the humor between like Cliff and Norm is funny. And I don't know. I just I have a newfound appreciation for that Norm's one-liners. Like they're so good. So that's, it's not a new show.
But where's Cheers at nowadays? Where do you find it?
Like as far as like how it holds up with like other.
No. What streaming network is
Peacock.
It? Okay.
It comes back.
And we're back, folks. Just when you thought we were done with the Peacock
so appropriate.
Right. Dan, it's funny how we look at things differently. Like how you pointed out Malone's toxic masculinity, but that wasn't really anything that was accented back then. You know what I mean? It was just we just took it like we took it, and now you're looking at it, you're like, man, some of this didn't age well.
Yeah.
And Dan, I've been I've talked about it a few times, so that's why I'm talking about it again, but I wasn't planning to. I'm still in the middle of The Jeffersons, which is the longest running sitcom, I think, almost still ever, or it's the second one. It's 11 seasons. I started it like 5 months ago, it feels like, and now I'm only in season 7. And there's a whole lot of racist things, and George Jefferson is not only a racist, he's toxic masculinity, he's all that shit wrapped up. But as I have seen more and more of it, Dan, and I got 4 more left. It just becomes funnier and funnier. Actually, it really becomes funny. Even though I was shocked, the N-word was dropped, and he calls Tom Willis hunky every other show, if not every show.
Yeah,
he's making fun of them being zebras, Lauren, because Tom Willis is white and Helen is black, so he calls them the zebra couple, and it's always a gag towards their whiteness or towards whiteness in general. And he's just a proud black guy in a time where it wasn't really cool to be a proud black. Not cool, but he's just unabashedly black. He doesn't give a shit if you care. He's unabashedly a male. He doesn't care. And Wheezy and his wife and his mother, and they all push back on him, and are outraged by his bullshit. And, that's like the counterbalance, Dan. We were talking about that before where, it seems like we've erased a lot of all that out of our, like our TV shows and stuff for better or for worse. But the problem is that it doesn't give us a time to have a dialogue about it. Like, at least when you look at Jefferson's, you could talk about how George is a certain way, but you could also talk about how Wheezy always pushes back. She never takes any of his racism. She's always rolling her eyes. She's always saying different things. And then she really gets mad when he's a toxic masculine, when he, says women don't do this and men do that. And she's like, what? No, like, you know what I mean? So it's interesting how we had it before, and it doesn't seem like shows have that edge anymore. You know what I mean? And I think that's what you maybe were feeling with Cheers. And I don't know, Cheers was on for like what, 8 or 9 seasons? How many seasons was that?
I think 11. 10
right.
or 11. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was long. Cheers
and that's
was
when the
long.
season used to be like 30 episodes. Like, it's
every
right.
week, like most of the year.
Right. Jefferson's is 25 a season.
Yep.
11 seasons. That's why it's taken me forever to get through it. But I don't care. It's almost like, you probably felt this way too. It's almost like I'm visiting with the Jeffersons. Yeah. It's almost like I'm in their world for like a half an hour or an hour. And like, I'm probably going to be sad when I get to the end and finish it, because then I'm like, I felt that way with, before this, I watched Sanford and Son. And that was 8 years or something. And that was fun. But I just always felt like I was like like George's other son. And I was like peeking in their lives. And like, it was just, I don't know. It's cool having a long ass series to look at that. And I think it's really cool to go back and, while we're all looking at new stuff. And Doug, that one I think I saw this on HBO. HBO Max they have so much good content there. It's just out of control, really. And they just keep adding on to it. But it's also, Dan, like you said, it's also good to go back to those old sitcoms where like they just have a storyline for like 20 minutes and they just drop it so easy. Like they don't, there's very few like 1 or 2 parters. And I just like how TV was back then, like how it was just so fickle about like the storylines, how like they would just like have a storyline quick and then just be done with it. Like where I think it's really, they want to explain shit more now. We have longer things. I don't know. Obviously, I could talk about this forever, but we should let you go soonish, Dan, because I don't know how long you're going to be able to take all those big ass beers there.
Yeah. So I mean, it's only so much a man can like not go for the big barrel aged stout. I'm not made of steel. So.
Right. So Dan, is there anything else that Lauren, are you? I just want to make sure, Lauren and Doug, have y'all asked all your questions for Dan? Y'all all good? I talked a lot. Dan, you're my boy, so I just miss you. So that's why I'm sorry if I dominated the conversation tonight. I apologize tonight. Yeah, right. Doug nodded off. Right. I
was like,
no, I apologize to my co-host, but here's one last shot at Dan. If y'all want to, Lauren, you have anything else, or Doug?
I'm just gonna say, if you do wind up going to Buffalo, please let me know, because that's like 2.5 hours from me. So
okay,
that's not a long haul. Yeah. Because I would love to be able to hang out with you and Tiffany and just have a beer.
That'd be super fun, for sure.
I mean, who doesn't want to hang out with Dan and Tiffany, man? So, Lauren,
I mean, I think we're good for now. Clearly, Dan always has to come back, and we're friends now. By the way, Dan, this is what happened. So
whether you like it or not,
awesome. I like that. I'm a fan of that.
Also social.
Yes, and you are invited to Minneapolis, Lauren, if you ever want to get out to Minneapolis.
Yeah.
You're already invited to Barrow and Flow. Dan, I don't know if you know about Barrow and Flow, but it might be too late for you. August, the second week in August.
I mean, the summer Dan usually goes till like end of August, so
Oh,
to say.
Maybe
Barrow and Flow, baby.
I'll send you the deets.
Okay.
It's just so you know, it's only 2 hours if you zip them out.
I gotta tell you, I like this ZG Rosenberg. He's been making me laugh the whole time.
Yeah, that's Zach. Zach is a fucking funny motherfucker. So.
I think that's clear. So Dan, thank you for having for coming on, and love you, and hopefully the rest of your night is going to be good. But I already know.
Yeah. They asked me earlier. Aaron and his dad, they live about 5 minutes away, but they recently installed a hot tub. So they're like, well, we might be enjoying some bourbon in a hot tub later. I don't know. This could be fun. Could be good times. Well, I also want to say, first of all, thank you for having me on. Lauren, it was great to meet you. We are friends now. Doug, it is so good to see you, and I'm so glad you are happy and healthy. It's great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you continue to be healthy and get back, in the Doug form. So it's really good to see your smiling face. And Greg, as always, I really appreciate you having me on. I know you always have tons of people on here, and I feel very privileged to be selected to come and chit chat with you all. It's just fun. So appreciate you all.
You're beyond worthy, friend. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Take care, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zach got a point. Bourbon in a hot tub is how kids end up locked in trunk.
I mean,
or with emotional support peacocks. I don't know. 1 or 2.
Also possible.
Right. It's a great taste, the same as as Barrel Flow. It always is, Dan. The only time the Great Taste is the second weekend in August, and Barrel Flow was always the second week in August. They made a deception last year. I think both of them made an exception last year for the pandemic, but
this year it's the same.
I always have to pick, and that's what it is. This year's Barrel Flow. Last year was a Great Taste. That's how it works. So yeah. Do we have any? We have this. Ladies first. Lauren, you want to talk about the beers you have?
Yeah, I snuck in the second one. Snuck in. So I opened a sneaker doodles. This Faction chocolate milk stout, which was tasty, very drinkable.
Had to have a stout, didn't you?
Had to have a stout. Why not? This is so yummy. And I would say, like, not because it wasn't good, but because this is one that I hadn't had, and like it's funny to me, and it was also tasty. This I'm Rye Burgundy, Rye Red Ale, was tasty and something different, and it made me giggle. So that's my favorite for this evening. But again, Factions solid, stouts are great. That's where I'm at. How about y'all?
Excellent. Doug?
So I started with I've been limiting myself to 2 for health reasons, for obvious. So first was the Black Magic Irish Coffee Stout, whiskey barrel blended. That was good, very drinkable, but not remarkable, just really good. From Empire out of Syracuse, New York. The thing that I think that was slightly better was this Irish Cream Dessert Stout. It was like having a beer with Irish cream on top of it, but it was really good. A little sweeter though, like it's almost like a sweet stout with Irish cream.
So good.
So it was really good, but I honestly, because of how sweet it is for me, 1 was plenty. Because anytime you have, for me, if you have a dessert stout or a dessert beer, 1 is just, for me, that's it, because I'm not a sweets person, so I don't like go overboard for like sweets, like cake or pie. Like I like them, but I'm not going to just eat a bunch of it. So I thought that was the best thing I had. So yeah, those are the 2 I had. How about you, Greg?
Yeah, I couldn't get any more different. I had this cold IPA from Fantasy Factory. And at this point, I know the difference between the cold IPA and the other ones, but it's an IPA. It's hoppy. It's great. I don't care. And this coffee stout that I'm still sipping on, really nice. Actually, the coffee's been a little bit more pronounced that it's warmer, but roasty. You'd like this one, Lauren. You're a coffee drinker, right? Too.
I'm not. I don't mind coffee flavor things, but I am not a coffee drinker.
I will go out on a limb. Yeah, I would go out on a limb and say you would like this one because the coffee is not
Yeah.
pronounced in it, but
Okay.
it gives it that little coffee flavor, but really more chocolate on this one.
Also great.
So that's great. Yeah. So last and certainly not least here, Doug and I don't know about, I guess Doug too, but Doug and I get a lot of feedback from here about how people miss Casey. And we miss him too. But Casey is working his butt off up there in Canada, doing a whole bunch of different things. So we're going to leave y'all tonight with a video that Casey was involved in with one. What's his name, y'all? Tell me so I get it right.
Do it,
Ryan
bud.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Yes. Apparently he's popular with the movies and TV. I didn't know this. No, I didn't know this, but I butchered his name and y'all gave me shit about it. But Casey had a interaction with him at an event that Doug and I went to show because we love Casey and he'll be back here at some point. And we're going to end with that. And then we'll see y'all next week with our friend Tiffany Martin. We want to thank Lauren Yee once again for stepping up and adding to the whole vibe of the show. We'll see you soon, Lauren. We got you. I don't know if we have you officially scheduled for something else, but we have requests out for you and other people. And so, yeah, once we get those scheduled, we will see Lauren back here real soon.
Cool.
So, thanks a lot, Lauren.
Thanks, Lauren.
Yeah.
Here's Casey, y'all.
Hey everyone, I'm Casey Palmer from Casey Palmer Canadian Dad, one of Canada's premier brands on parenting and fatherhood. Creating a dad brand has brought some interesting things into my life over the years, but recently Netflix gave me the opportunity to sit down in a small group of parenting influencers and be in a roundtable conversation with Ryan Reynolds in advance of his new movie, The Adam Project, coming out on Netflix this Friday, March the 11th. It was awesome to even be considered for something like this, and I wanted to make the most of it, reaching out to my community to find out what kind of questions I should ask Ryan in the limited time we'd have available. But it turned out we'd only have time for one, so I had to make it count. And while I think I came up with the perfect question, Ryan had an even better answer. Check it out.
Hello, I'm Casey Palmer from Casey Palmer Canadian Dad, and yeah, my handle is at Casey Palmer because keep consistent. I guess.
Right? Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Easy to find me.
Lean into it.
So as a dad, I have two boys. They're 8 and 6, and I know you have your girls, and it's such an interesting space to be in because fatherhood has, only recently people have started really diving into like what makes a dad what they are. Right? We're not these stoic, one-dimensional characters in the background who just get a drink after work. Like we're in there doing things and everything. And what I think I really appreciate about the Adam Project is that it brought humanity to the father character, where it's just like not just like this guy or this guy who just gives you sage advice or stuff. He's as flawed as everybody else.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. And so I was wondering, you're on here as a producer, and I was wondering what elements of fatherhood really drew you to it when you were reading the script, when you're going into putting this together, when you're doing your performance as this character who gets to see it not only from the child perspective but the child as an adult at the same age as his dad because time travel perspective. Like where does it resonate with you on that, and why is it so important to you?
Well, that's the wish fulfillment part, right? Like that's the part that then the wish fulfillment is, and certainly in the construction of these movies is often through the gaze of the kid, the child protagonist, but it's also in this case through Big Adam as well. And his wish, I think he's not expressing it, but his underlying inner child is screaming, "Please fix this with Dad." And I think that I know in my life, and this is something that was very important to me in the storytelling, is that I have told myself stories about my father that weren't true. For years it was that he was this and this and this, and it's sort of like I liken it to a nickname. If you give someone a nickname, typically it's like a really vicious form of bullying. Sometimes it's endearing, but other times it's like you're isolating one aspect of their physicality that you're using as a nickname, and that typically erases all the other nuance, right? So like the stories I was telling about my father, I sort of thought of later in life as a nickname. And I did have a nickname for him. I had Jimbo was the nickname. His name is Jim. My brothers and I called him Jimbo. And we talked about Jimbo. Jimbo was always somebody who was like, a skin-covered landmine, a guy who had a short fuse, who was like this very, very one-dimensional kind of character, not unlike what you described as the guy who comes home after work, fixes himself a scotch, sits down, and doesn't speak. And in certain ways that was my dad, but in other ways it wasn't. He was also there. He was always there. He was a guy like taking us camping in British Columbia, and he was like, a guy who never missed a baseball game that I had. Never, there were all these other things that I chose to sort of leave out because it didn't fit the Jimbo narrative that I had of him. So like, as I got older, I was like, oh wow, like, my dad died years ago, and I realized I got more and more angry at him after his death, and it was because it was reaffirming this lazy story that I kept telling myself about him. And also, and it's in the movie, is that, there's a point in this movie where the kid says, and this was like a last minute rewrite I did while I was in quarantine for the movie, but I was like, I figured out why I hated my dad. I hated him because he died. And it was such a weird reason that I felt shame about. Like, you can't hate someone because they died. Like, that is a shame. Like, I felt real shame about that. And so I naturally put it in the movie. And I had the kid say it to my character, that you hate him because he died. And I did. I really did with my own father, because I didn't have that shot at any kind of reconciliation or understanding of who he was. But again, like, he was just a man, just doing the best he could, and he was programmed by his parents. Much like my kids are, to a certain degree, I know that's an ugly way of expressing it, but they're sort of programmed by my sensibility and my wife's sensibility. It's our kind of, we're trying to infuse them with empathy, and we're trying to infuse them with like whatever skills they're going to need to at least make the world a little bit better when they leave it, and it's a lot of that. And my father was, really subject to that kind of parenting from his dad. I know my grandfather was a guy who came home, he mowed the lawn after he would roll up one of his sleeves on each side, and then he would loosen just the top button and undo just the tie just a little bit, and then go mow the lawn. Like, dude, I go out there in a muumuu, and like, let's go. Like, I'm gonna do this with comfort.
Get it done. Yeah,
not necessarily style, but comfort. So yeah, it's interesting. Like, the parent where it's sort of, and that's another thing that's in the movie too, is every bully has a bully, right? Like, it's every parent that doesn't exactly hit the bullseye, probably had a parent who didn't hit the bullseye for a variety of reasons that weren't necessarily willful,
Now, while I couldn't make it out to the Toronto premiere of The Adam Project later that day, I did see the photos, and it looks like it was a really fun time, with plenty of interactive exhibits, kids loving life as they start to get out of the home again, and of course, appearances from Mr. Reynolds himself as people flock to the red carpet to get all the selfies. Shout out again to Netflix for the opportunity, and here's hoping this is the first of many. This is Casey Palmer, signing off.